忍びの時代は終わる。
螺旋が
Kashin Koji versus everybody, or perhaps it would be more accurate to describe it this way. Kashin Koji will lose everyone who is on his side, and perhaps betrayal is the worst possible outcome. So, yeah. After the leak of Chapter 31 came out, there are certainly so many important points that are very interesting for us to discuss. Starting from Sarada's blindness, Inojin's betrayal, Kobu's rescue, and most importantly, Shikamaru's final plan. Yep, and that's a plan that we predicted a few weeks ago. It's a crazy plan full of risks. But if we consider how Ikemoto had to take this scenario, it's a really interesting decision. And that is to use Ida as bait. However, to delve deeper into the context in the coming minutes, I think we should focus on one thing first. And that's about Kashin Koji. If we look at how Kobu should have died and what happened instead, will that trigger a much worse possibility in the future? In this case, I think if we pay close attention, especially to how Ikemoto or Kishimoto wrote Chapter 31, it's something that's really very interesting. I mean, Kashin Koji has a big mission. A mission that will determine the end of this shinobi world. And of course, that big mission will involve everyone. And he must guide and direct everyone towards something much more ideal. By guiding everyone towards a much more ideal future, it will indirectly save this world. Or perhaps more accurately, help it avoid destruction from threats such as Shinju and even Momoshiki. In his mission to guide everyone, Ikemoto has created a challenge for Kashin Koji himself that has fans really excited to follow the rest of the story. After all, in order to guide everyone's future in a better direction, Kashin Koji cannot explain every step, every decision, or even every reason why he must choose that path. Whether it is a path or a decision that is ultimately risky, Kashin Koji cannot explain it in detail. All he can do is provide as little information as possible to everyone. And this is why I said earlier that Ikemoto's writing of Kashin Koji's scenario and his mission to save everyone is truly genius. Because as we know, if Koji explained the reasons behind every decision, or even provided as much information as possible on every reason and decision, it would trigger a bad possibility in the future. Whether it would be a future branch or something else, one thing is certain: it would make the future even worse. We don't need to go into detail and explain it thoroughly, but at least one example when Koji forbids Boruto from helping his friends who are about to be killed in the mission to obtain Togedama Matsuri and Ryu is enough as an example of the worst possible outcome if Boruto does not follow the predetermined future path or even the scenario that Kashin Koji has truly prepared, right? And in this case, Koji's biggest challenge is how everyone will truly follow all of Koji's plans, even if they are evil or cruel choices. For example, killing innocent people. At this point, I am convinced, and I also agree, that Kobu is a character who must be killed because he is a nuisance. He is a daimyo's henchman who could even trigger a much worse possibility in the future, especially if Shikamaru's position is replaced. But believe me, that's based on the point of view as a fan. Because if we look at it from the perspective of the characters, Kobu is not what the fans see him as. I mean, Inojin's decision to save Kobu was a wise one, and it truly shows him to be a true ninja. But for Kashin Koji himself, his perspective is truly rational and even resembles that of fans following this story, right? But once again, in the ninja world, the philosophy or even the ninja path of each shinobi certainly has its own principles, but at least the majority of fans would not possibly do something cruel without a logical reason. In this operation or mission, Inojin and the Konoha shinobi tried very hard to eliminate the increasing number of mamushi. And even though Inojin knew that defeating mamushi was related to Himawari's future, at least Inojin didn't really understand Koji's intentions. Moreover, Inojin's role at this point is truly crucial. By controlling Kobu's body as the determinant of Shikamaru's future, Inojin must really consider whether he should follow Koji's advice or even the opposite. Is that right? And once again, this is why I think giving appreciation to Mikio Ikemoto for writing Koji's story is truly something that deserves better. We all agree that every shinobi has their own principles and ninja path. Every shinobi has their own priorities and ideals. And that also applies to Boruto. Koji cannot forever hide or not explain in detail every plan after his failure to kill Kobu. Believe it or not, this will certainly apply to Boruto as well. While Boruto has always followed Kashin Koji's plan, which Koji himself said was Boruto's singularity of fate, Boruto was not fully explained about every mission or even the consequences behind it all. Starting from the evil plan to sacrifice Yodo, At this point, Boruto did not completely follow Kashin Koji's plan or way of thinking. As we saw earlier in the dialogue between Koji, Inojin, and Boruto, especially after Koji mentioned the deal with Momoshiki without his knowledge, Boruto stated that in any situation, sometimes decisions must be based on one's own thoughts. What he means is that even though every scenario is always based on Kashin Koji's instructions, there are certainly moments where they don't have to follow them absolutely. And sometimes, following one's own train of thought is not necessarily wrong. But the problem remains. Koji doesn't understand that everyone has their own priorities and their own ninja path. Is that right? So, in conclusion, this isn't about Kashin Koji saving the world again. It's about how everyone will end up seeing Kashin Koji as a threat himself and end up betraying him. And believe it or not, out of all the characters who have sided with Koji so far, I think only Shikamaru is on the same page and frequency as him. I mean, we know, and I believe that the majority of fans think Shikamaru is a reflection of Danzo. If it's to protect Konoha, then they will take any path and do whatever it takes. And clearly, Shikamaru is a character who is almost similar and even resembles Danzo himself. He is a leader who doesn't care about anyone's life. If they become an obstacle or even harm Konoha, then he won't hesitate to eliminate them. It does sound evil, but sometimes how we perceive the world and the truth itself is very complex, right? But if we return to this case, perhaps Shikamaru will at least remain on Koji's side as long as Koji does not truly sacrifice Shikadai. In other words, if in future missions or any plans that Kashin Koji has determined, Shikadai is a choice to achieve an ideal future, and if one of those choices is to sacrifice Shikadai, then at that point, Shikamaru will refuse and even betray Kashin Koji. No one knows what kind of plot twist will happen in the future. Is that right? But one thing we need to remember is that Kashin Koji sometimes sacrifices someone's life, not only because they are a nuisance. Seeing how Yodo was sacrificed to support Sarada's character in awakening her potential, it is not impossible that Shikadai will suffer the same fate. Is that right? And no matter who becomes strong or awakens their potential next, there's no guarantee that Koji won't sacrifice Shikadai. And in your opinion, does Inojin's refusal of Kashin Koji's evil plan to kill Kobu mean that not only will the future become more complicated, but Inojin will also lose his trust in Koji? But what do you think? Did Koji already know that he had seen a probability that Inojin would betray him? This is very interesting. If you enjoyed this video, help me push it to 100 likes or 1K hype points. I'm Nim without the E. See you in the Chapter 31 review. Bye bye, Data Bio.